Well, I felt like I put you on.
Oh. So, right. Welcome back to the next episode of Let's Chat Derbyshire. I'm Luke and I work in Derbyshire County Council's public health team in the mental health and suicide prevention team. So just before we do introductions, we like to start off by asking, so Chloe, how are you feeling out of 10?
I'm feeling, I'd say, an 8. A little bit nervous, but more excitement than nervous,
That's
would
good.
say.
Yeah, that's better than me. I'm really scared this bench is going to break. So if you suddenly see us drop, something's gone wrong. Oh, dearie me. So if you wouldn't mind just starting off by giving yourself a bit of an introduction, why you're here today. It's great you are here. But yeah.
Yeah, of course. So my name is Chloe Farmer. By day, I run marketing and communications for an IT company based in Derby. And in the evenings, I teach yoga.
That's amazing. That's busy. That sounds very busy. So how did you find yoga? What brought you to it? And how long have you been doing it for?
So backstory is my grandma, my late grandma, Marjorie bless her, used to love yoga, and I always remember being in the kitchen and she'd do like this amazing tree pose and always touch her toes till her later days. And then I found yoga when I was doing CrossFit, so I was competing, but really yoga kind of changed my life in such a positive way during lockdown. So when everything had closed off, I really struggled with my mental health. I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder, and I also developed an eating disorder through kind of restricted eating. So yoga really helped me to bring it back to my breath, just kind of help with all those crowded thoughts that I had in my mind, and also paired with movement, it gave me a bit of a release. So lockdown was kind of the pivotal point where it really kind of made such a huge difference for me personally.
That's amazing. Oh, she sounded like such a legend. I'd love just to walk into that. I'm like, go on, that's amazing. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. It sounds like it's really brought you back to the moment, I guess, and while you're going through all of the difficult times, it's really focused you on what's important and sort of reset from where you were at.
And I think lockdown in itself, because we live such busy lives, don't we? Everything is go. We're always trying to reach the next goal or get from A to B. And the positive, whilst it was awful for a lot of people, it also made us slow down and kind of reevaluate things. And I think that very much for me was I was kind of nearing burnout quite a lot. I was kind of always kind of trying to strive to be the best and better. And it obviously came at a cost that I did burn out. So. Yeah.
I think it was a good stopping point for people to really evaluate what is life really, and how they can better themselves. A lot more people got physically active, didn't they? Because they could just slow down. And I think it's going the opposite way. Though I think it's been that long after people are doing less, but then doing more for work, aren't they? So it's probably a good time just for people just to check and really evaluate, what's important. Because doing things like yoga or any physical activity is so good, isn't it, for your mental health?
Yeah,
it's really important to focus on. In lockdown, I started to do a bit of yoga at home with the YouTube on. It was good,
and it made it really accessible as well.
Yeah.
It was a lot of things went online, like you just said, YouTube, and I think that's a great thing about yoga is if you aren't able to maybe go to a studio, you can look at YouTube, and there's a lot of content and things out there.
Yeah, there was loads. It was great. Some of them I was there I cannot do that, but I just put beginner at the start of all of it, and it was okay, I'm more comfortable with this one, but it was great. So from doing it in lockdown and going forward, where's yoga taking you now?
So I'm now a qualified yoga teacher. So I completed my 200 hours in October. So a little bit about my journey in terms of how I got to become a yoga teacher is last December, unfortunately, I suffered a miscarriage, and that was a really challenging time in my life. And I had a really good support network, and my mother, my partner, my sister, my whole family was so supportive, and they were really encouraging of me. I said, I've seen this yoga course. Kind of, do I go for it, do I don't? And they were so encouraging. They were like, just go for it. That's and great. I started in January, and it was more a journey for myself than anything. It was amazing. I had a fantastic teacher called Natalie over at Calm in Derby, and I'd always thought I might want to teach, but I never thought I would actually teach, if that makes sense. So it was quite a transformative experience.
That's great.
But one that did put me out of my comfort zone. Like I had to sit a lot with my thoughts and my feelings. And when you're used to being on the go or pushing things down, that can be quite challenging, but also like amazing at the same time.
It can be quite scary though, I think, can't it? Especially after going through something so traumatic, for you to be able to pull yourself, I guess, and go, I need to do something, and being able to notice and recognise what will help you, I think is a great achievement. And being able to again put that focus on something else. But sitting down with your own thoughts can be scary, can't it?
Yes,
absolutely. I like to keep busy, and I think part of it is just because of that. I think, you know, opening up to, I don't know, just your thoughts and feelings and stuff is terrifying.
Well, like you said, it's scary though, isn't it? It's like, okay, so I'm going to sit in stillness now. Initially my mind's like, or my ego's like, no you're not. Why would you want to do that?
What are you doing?
And it is that, isn't it? And it's almost just kind of, I think a lot of people might think, oh, like yoga or meditation, we need to meditate for like 2 hours, or we need to do like an intense yoga session. Yoga is so much more than that. Yoga is literally, could be right now, just spend like breathing in and out and just having 30 seconds to ourselves. Like, that's yoga.
Doesn't have to be so intense.
You
know, even just if you're at work, sat at your desk, just literally taking a moment, just switch your screen off and just do those breathing exercises. Like, it can just make the world of difference. And you don't have to commit to anything, do you, with yoga? You can do it as you want to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a really good example as well. So you could just be at your desk, like you say, turn your monitor off, maybe just do like some wrist stretches or maybe even just going for like a walk, like a few minutes or something like that. Like you say, that is yoga. And I think especially kind of like modern day yoga, there's a lot on Instagram where you see like these fantastic poses that are so beautiful and they're amazing, but that's not necessarily accessible for everyone, and that can put a lot of people off. And that's something that I'm really keen to do in terms of kind of like making yoga accessible to kind of all people.
Yeah, because everyone can do it, can't they? There's so many different varieties. You can do it sat in a chair, you can do a wheelchair, you know, and anyone can do it, and it can be tailored to anyone. And it's so great that you're wanting to like give people the opportunity to. If someone is struggling, obviously getting into yoga can be a great way for the mindfulness and well-being and stuff. What advice would you give someone maybe who doesn't know what to do, doesn't know where to go, or how to maybe find something local to them? Or
so first of all, always just check with your doctor, just to check that they are okay to practice yoga, and then there are lots of kind of local groups. So if you do have the internet and you're able to Google it, just seeing what comes up in terms of like in your local community. If not, kind of popping down to like a community hall and maybe just seeing what they have on offer. And also if there isn't a need, like not a need, but if there isn't a yoga there, kind of like looking online, if you've got access to the internet, like you said, you did your YouTube videos and things like that. So there are a few. The benefits of doing it in the community are that you get that social interaction, so you do get to meet new people. So our class on a Wednesday is very much like that. It's in a community hall in Swanwick, and we all know each other now, and it's just a nice community feeling. And then the pros of kind of online as well is that you can do it in your own time. So going back to us having busy lives, you might have childcare and things like that, so that could fit in quite nicely. And again, it's just doing something. So it could be a few minutes, it could be 5 minutes, it could be 10. Start small would be my advice. It can be quite overwhelming, like, oh, I need to do this for an hour or two to get benefits. You really don't. You can just do it for a few minutes and just start creating that habit and like the positive habits. And it's like they say, like you could sprint, or you could just I can't remember the analogy, I'm probably gonna have to cut this out, but small changes a day equal a big change, or like habit change. So.
I think taking that first step's the hardest bit. So like you said, people just speak to the GP, but then once they know, they're able to do it, just looking online and seeing what's around. Or if you can't get online, just going down to your local community centre and just asking there, because I'm sure they'll know what the programme is available, I guess.
And if you've got a friend that you can go with, or like a family member, just say, look, do you fancy doing this with me? So I always think, like, if you can go with someone else, it's slightly less daunting, like if
definitely.
you go on your own.
I think now there's a perception, I guess, that yoga's just really serious, where you, like
Yeah.
you said, you go for like an hour and it's like the Bible of well-being. But I don't think it is like that, is it? It's
No,
such
absolutely
a good
not.
well-being and social sort of aspect to it.
Yeah, there are so many benefits. So traditionally in a yoga class, we'll start by kind of dialing into our breathing and our breath. So we have that element. Then we look into some poses and we do movement. And then at the end of class, we always do what we call shavasana. So lying down and in stillness. Maybe there's a guided meditation. So there are quite a few different elements to yoga. And then community aspects afterwards. Sometimes people will kind of chat outside or like have like their own community chats and things like that.
Great.
So yeah, like you said, there are so many different aspects.
That's amazing. Obviously, you've dedicated 10 months to it. You've done it before. What have you got out of it? Do you think? What are some key bits you've?
I have learnt to be more loving towards myself and others. So I do have that kind of, I think we probably all have it, like that self-critic. That's, oh, you could have done better. And that was very prevalent kind of in my mind, which is also positive because it means that I have got drive, and there have been positives with it. But I think just being more loving towards myself, which has then helped me be more loving towards others, and just give myself that space. So creating space, whether that's in the mind from like our thoughts, like almost kind of like witnessing them and just being like, it's okay to have thoughts, like that's okay. And also knowing it's okay to feel how you feel as well. Because I think in society, less so now, but it was always that, oh, you weren't really encouraged to be able to say kind of like how you felt. And if you were, it was more like, okay, kind of like move on. It wasn't really talked about.
Let's get over it. And I think for men as well, getting into yoga is equally good for them. You know, typically before it was just for women and stuff, but I think so many men do it now. So,
absolutely.
You know, just for any men who are listening and stuff, do look into it. It's a great form of exercise, and like I said, you can control your breathing and just learn something new. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you do any other sports as well, it's really good to complement it with like a stretch class or things like that. So yeah, absolutely.
That's great. Oh, I love it. It's just great how you've turned some really challenging times into just such a positive, really. Now you're helping so many other people from it. I love it. That's great.
It's been challenging, and I don't want to sit here and say, oh, like everything is like rosy, because the times have been really hard. But I guess it's almost kind of, I think one thing that I did learn on the yoga course was almost drawing a line and kind of like what has happened in the past. So with the miscarriage, that whilst I wanted to beat myself up and be like, it was my fault, I did this wrong, I did that wrong, that's not going to get me to where I want to be. And it is very challenging, don't get me wrong, and every person is different. So this is just my experience that I'm talking about. But I think it's also just kind of saying, okay, like that has happened. Also, and so that was really, really rubbish. Like, because I have a tendency to push things down. And then they'll come out in other ways and things like that. And so I think it's, kind of like recognizing that something has happened and not thinking, oh, but everyone else has got so much worse going on. So like, my thing isn't a thing. I think it's almost like recognizing that and having compassion with yourself.
I think it's so easy to do, isn't it? Being like, well, people are going through worse, I'm just going to push this down. Or it was that bad, I'm just going to ignore it ever happened. And then it just bubbles away. The balloon blows up and it will pop and it will come out in a different way, won't it? And being able to just acknowledge it, work through it your own way. And yoga won't fix everything, you know, all of these things, even if it's counselling and stuff, it will never fully fix it. Because if you've been through something traumatic stuff, it will always be there, but you'll just be able to deal with it in a way that's best for you. And I think you found that way, haven't you, as among other things. And it's great that you've got your family with you and stuff. And
I have the most supportive network, which is amazing. And for anyone that might not have a supportive network, obviously there are sites and things like that they could tap into, but also kind of in creating that community, like that community that you do get maybe with yoga, that was also a support network for us. So I think there were about maybe 15 teachers on our course, but because we all kind of shared things at different times, it was almost like we became each other's support network, which was like beautiful. Like, it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was lovely. Great you had the confidence to open up about him. Thank you. I think if we've spoken about breathing and everything so much, we'll just have a 30 seconds, I think, of just bit of breathing. It might not be that long because I'm rubbish at counting, but
Shall we do like a in for 4, out for 4?
Yeah, that sounds good. We'll do a bit of breathing, and whoever's listening, join on. I think it's a good time. Let's just reflect on your day, reflect on your week, and we'll just do a bit of breathing before we finish.
Option to maybe place our left hand over our chest and our right hand over our stomach, if that feels good. And then maybe lowering the gaze or closing the eyes down. And just taking a moment here just to notice the breath. And then inhaling for a count of 4. And then exhaling for a count of 4. And just repeating this 4 or 5 times in your own time and at your own pace. This is engaging with our parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest. Then slowly starting to deepen the breath. Just taking some gentle movement, maybe in the fingers or the toes. And if you've got your eyes closed, just blinking them open. Thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you for joining us. It's been great talking to you. We'll pop some links in around yoga. We'll pop a link in, a bit of information about the session you teach, so if anyone local can go along. And it's just been great being able to talk to you. Thank you for being so open. And